Welcome, restoration professionals, to Restoration Minutes, your source for industry information and education. Be sure to like and rate us if you enjoy the content we provide.
All right, welcome into a new episode of Restoration Minutes. I'm here with the one and only Kayla from R&R Magazine. How you doing, Kayla?
Good, how are you? Thank you for having me
Doing good.
back.
I've been very busy, and I know you have too. Trade show season has started. Things are getting a little crazy. I went to the Cotality event, but I didn't make it to the Verisk one. I think you just got back from the Verisk one. You want to give us any updates on how that went?
Yeah, I was at Verisk. It was actually my first time attending that event. So, I was already just really excited, but the energy was so high. There was representation from all over our sub industries, if you will. So we had representation from the restoration contractor side. We had representation from the carrier, obviously Verisk as software. And it was just really great to see everybody with the same mission to help our customers in the end. It was really great, honestly. I always attend sessions at everything I go to, but this one, it was like, it was hard to choose from the sessions if I'm going to be completely
Oh, wow.
honest. And I know Cotality is the same way. I didn't get to go to that this year. My counterpart Scott
Yeah,
got to go,
I
and
got some pictures for Scott. So yeah.
yeah, and he said it was really great too. And that's one of those things is there's so much going on in the industry, but I'm so happy to see that in, Q1 of the year, it's to work together to take care of our customers. I know we've made some great strides in the last 5 to 10 years,
Yep.
and I'm really excited to kind of see what 2026 has in store for us. I think that's going to be a theme throughout the year. I know we're carrying that over into the experience as well.
Yep.
But overall, really great. The keynotes were phenomenal. Um, One thing I took away from the keynote that I think we all can relate to is, you don't have to be 100% better every day, but if you do 1% every day, you'll make a big difference, right?
Right.
And that was kind of the message behind that. So, really great event. I look forward to 27, both Cotality, Verisk. I mean, everything that's going on. I know this is going to air after we attend AGA, but we have a few events like going on,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So, there's just so much going on, and I think it's a really great start to 2026, personally.
Yep, and I will definitely see you there Monday at the Pure Clean corporate office down in Namarack, Florida, or something like Tamarack, Florida, I think.
Tamarack, yeah.
I know it's inside of Fort Lauderdale because I've spent quite a bit of time in Fort Lauderdale when I lived in South Florida. So, it seems like those two behemoths, though, Cotality and Verisk, are trying to go for the same goal. As far as like market share and stuff. So it's going to be interesting, as an outsider, kind of seeing how that develops over the next couple of years. They both are trying to their best to do what a lot of restorers have wanted and try to bring everything under, as much as they can under one roof kind of a thing. So I totally get that. We hope our software stays out on its own kind of a thing with its own anomalies. But we're great at that. Hopefully they will stay out. I know that some of them have tried to get into that space, and that's fine. I think our product's better, but anyhow, I digress. Are you going to PLRB as well? I mean, that's kind of like the
I
next
am not
group.
personally going, but I think Scott's going. That's a really good show too. Are you going to PLRB?
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll probably just be attending. I don't think we're going to do a booth. I mean, we did a booth last year and just lost in the minutia of it all. I mean, it was you got FM Global and all these big companies that are in there that take up half the freaking floor, and it's like your little booth just gets lost if you're not careful. So
100%. I
I
would say, like,
found it
walking around
better.
is great.
Sorry.
No, I was gonna say walking around is a great opportunity
Oh yeah.
because when you're in a booth, you're tied to your booth.
Yeah. Walking around and trying to schedule meetings before you go has been very successful for me. And then obviously doing any of the after hour events and stuff like that always goes over well. Um, with R&R Magazine, I know you guys also are still in the process of, the Woman Restorer or something like that. Would you want to tell us a little bit more about how that's going and how the voting's going?
Yeah, so Women in Restoration Award is an annual award we usually, announce in the spring, but this year we're actually going to do it in the fall. Nominations are still open until February 28th. And basically qualifications are you have to be in the industry for over 10 years, you have to have a lasting impact and future impact, community service, your training, basically your entire career is really what we were looking at. The cool thing about this award is that industry peers make up the panel of voting. So they know what it takes to be great in this industry. The thing that really kills me is we have so many great women in this industry. It is so hard. I'm so thankful that I am not a judge. We've had so many nominations come in, but I definitely think that there's still a ton of women out there who deserve to be nominated. So if you're interested, I'm going to share the link with Mike. You can nominate as many women as you would like. Just make sure you share as much detail as possible because that is what they are judged on. And it is really crazy. I will definitely say last year the race was so close. Our winner won by 1 point. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
it is neck and neck. The top five, there was a point or two differential between all of them. And I'm like, I don't even know how you could possibly judge these lovely
It's a
ladies.
coin
So
flip.
right, it's really hard, but I will definitely say it does come down to supporting documentation, which is a theme in this industry. So, please make sure you submit all of your documentation. And then the winner will be announced at the experience September 9th through 11th. And then what we'll do is we'll put one of the women who wins on the women in restoration panel that we're going to have at the experience. So it's going to be really cool, a little different than what we usually do, just because we're not doing the spring event really, because of how much is going on in the spring. Us
Mm.
as staff, we were on the road quite a bit. So just kind of keep your eyes peeled. We have other nominations for other awards coming out in the spring. So, Mike, I'll touch base with you on that. But there's
Yep.
some great opportunities to really capitalize and highlight the people of our industry from all ranges, women in restoration, those who were 35 and under. Then we have the technician award, which is one of my favorites too, because technicians are the backbone of what we do. And
Absolutely.
it's your opportunity to nominate a technician, and they receive their award at Violan Management's planning event that they have in the fall. And they get some cool stuff when they win too. So yeah, that's all of that in a nutshell. But women in restoration, please submit your nominations.
And they have to be in restoration for what, 10 years? Is that
10
correct?
years, yeah.
And how do you guys validate that? Do you just have to kinda go into their LinkedIn account and look at their background, or how does that go? Do you guys actually reach out to the nominees, and try to get some more information and background stuff?
So for the most part, we've been very fortunate that we know the women who are nominated, so we can go and look at, like you said, their LinkedIn. We can also verify dates that are shared. That's why I'm saying it's so important to share the details of each nominee. And what we do is, if there's ever any doubt, we reach out to the person who nominated and ask them to verify. If they cannot verify, then we will go to the nominee themselves and say, "Hey, how long have you been in the industry?" Because it's most people don't even know they're nominated, if I'm
Oh,
being
yeah.
completely honest, which is really cool to kind of see
That's
when
the good side
people.
of it.
Right, 100%, and it's just so cool, to see it. And I will also say too, like, I think this award and all the other awards are really different than what people may think. Like, you may think, oh, for example, for you, Mike, like, let's say you nominated one of the lovely ladies at Helix Co. There's probably other people in the industry nominating them as well. So it
Yeah.
doesn't have anything to do with your company or anything like that. If people know that you have an undeniable impact, they're nominating you, which is really, really cool to see, truly.
Yeah, I almost think that, next year, I'm gonna give you, I'm an idea kind of guy. I would do, because there are some women that I know that have gotten into the industry probably in the last 4 or 5 years that have like taken off,
Right.
crazy, move quickly into leadership positions, and they bring a whole different perspective. So maybe next year do like a woman's veteran type of position and then a women's newcomer, that kind of a thing. Have like two awards. So I think that might be kind of cool, because there are some people I'm already thinking of that I know have not been in the industry long, but have really taken it the bull by the horns, and jumped straight up into leadership. Some of them even CEO positions and things like that of restoration companies and private equity groups that that control some of the restoration industry. And so it might be good, to kind of have two different categories. So just an idea.
I will definitely say that has been discussed as well, so you're definitely on the right path. I too believe that there is an opportunity there that is maybe minimum of 2 years in the industry, but
Yep.
less than 10, right?
Yep.
So, that's something we can definitely make happen. I know we're gonna do a little bit of a rebranding on some of the other awards, and so, this has definitely been something that I have had on my mind and talked about. So great idea, great minds think alike. Thank you for
Yep.
validating that. But no, truly, you're so right. I think that there's so many, not just women, but newcomers into this industry that have really just trailblazed their own career, but also opened
Yep.
up opportunities for other people. And, I think we have an award for under 35, and then we have the technician award, but I think we need maybe 2 more awards if I'm being quite honest.
Oh yeah.
Um, and it just, you know, we work in a very thankless industry, if I'm being quite honest. I mean, I think we do a really good job internally thanking people for what they do, right? And by internally, I mean within the industry. But we take a disastrous situation, some of people's worst days, and bring them back to almost like it never happened, right? There's
Yep.
always going to be that memory of something happened here, but they're able to live and thrive in their business space or their home or whatever the case may be. And they may say thank you, but I think that oftentimes we're not thanked as often. And
Oh, of
so this
course.
is an
We get even
opportunity.
as restorers, even though we're contractors, we get lumped into that bad, view of contractors in general, that
Yeah.
and it's sad, because we're kind of a different animal, obviously. We're not building things from scratch and doing remodel. Well, some of us do remodels, but it's more of disaster. Whether and that's how I kind of got into this industry. I ran medical clinics in a previous life, and I had Charlie, Francis, and Jean hit my house and almost $200,000 worth of damage in 2004, and I flipped houses all through college, but never dealt with mold and water or anything like that, and now I had both, for 3 floors. I mean, it was crazy, and, so I tried to GC that, and that's kinda where I started getting my experience, and, you know, I'm very nerdy when it comes to the science side of things, and, really fell in love with mold, and then it just kinda one thing led to another. Like most people, I wasn't looking for a career in this by any means, but fell in love with it once I got here, and that's the amazing thing about this industry. The people that last definitely have a passion for it because if not, you'll burn out in a hurry. Just the demands, hours, the time, the travel, all that kind of stuff will wear you out compared to a lot of type of jobs. So it's definitely some of us are ADHD and addicted to the high speed energy of it, and other people just have a passion of empathy,
Yeah.
and that's kind of me. Like I know what homeowners are going through. Back when I first got started and did residential, and because I felt their pain, I knew what it was. I mean, it. We ended up never living in that house again. I mean, it took a year and a half to get it rebuilt. Because Florida was so devastated that year.
Mhm.
And by then we'd already moved and moved on and sold the house, after it was finished. So I know, I mean, we still love that house. It was a historic home. So I also got the emotional side to it that I can kind of see, how people are dealing with it. But, so the experience is coming up too. Obviously, that's gonna be, early summer, I guess is what I would call it, or I guess, late summer, excuse me. It's in August. And so, early fall kinda area, depending on where you live as far as temperatures go, but it's still considered summer, I guess, in August. But, tell us a little bit about what all's going on there and exciting. I know we talked about it on our last podcast a little bit, but I know you guys have gotten a lot more details now, so.
Yes, so we've made quite a few changes for this year. Obviously, content is still going to be really great, but a couple of cool things, and I'll kind of start with like the biggest changes. I think the first one is we're actually going to do 3 days of keynote. So instead of just 2 days, we're doing three. And the goal is to have representation from the restoration space, from the tech space, and from the cleaning space. So definitely three major avenues that are kind of the backbone to what we
Yep.
do, keynoting. In addition, we're also mixing up how the sessions run. So the first couple of sessions of the day will all be 30 minutes, and the last session of every day will be an hour, and they'll be panel style. And the
Okay.
reason why we've done it this way is because the panels are so well received, and it's also an opportunity to be a little bit more conversational with the attendees, get their questions asked. And it's just one of those things where we're realizing that there are some minor tweaks that we need to make to kind of hit everybody's palate, if you will. And also, I think we can accomplish a lot in 30 minutes when it's a single or a duo session. And, it's just one of those things. There's so many people to learn from in this industry.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that we can ever have enough education, but we've made some tweaks to kind of squeeze in a little bit more if at all possible.
Yeah.
Another
I
fun
mean,
oh,
oh,
go ahead.
absolutely. No, I was just going to say, yeah. I mean, people that think they've learned it all have got some issues, obviously, or are not talking to enough people. It's I've been in it now 20 years, and I learn something every week, from dealing with friends that do things a little bit different than me, or some new technology, or new whatever, and so there's always, I'm from the South, and so there's always more than one way to skin a cat is what we used to say. And so, it's one of those things that I love to learn. One of our friends that we both share, Chris Carter, is the same way. He goes every freaking class he can go to, more than I even have. And so, and he's been doing it 25 years, so it's anybody that thinks that they're at the top of their game, uh, or have an ego problem, I think, and they're not humble enough to understand that there's still more to learn. So I'm glad and I'm really excited about the panel stuff because it really encourages the interaction and participation of the attendees for sure.
It really does, and I would definitely say too, to your point, like, even if you think that you know a majority of what is going to be shared, you always pull at least one thing away.
Yep.
And, I always say at the end of the day, if we've changed one person's mind or influenced or informed one person, we've done our job. And that's just what it takes, one person at a time. You don't have to impact everybody all the time, right? Like, we work in an industry where small changes make a huge difference. And so, I think one cool thing about having people speak about topics that sometimes people think may be like generic or maybe something that's been beat to death, there's always new, like you said, methods. There's new technology, there's new people, there's science, there's all these things that go into everything that we do every single day. And so the really cool thing is we have some really great balance. We have some of our providers in the space who provide services. We have some franchise owners, operators, staff. We have people from IICRC, RIA. We have some also independent contractors, independent cleaners. And then one cool thing that we're doing this year is we're rolling out a Spanish track.
Oh, nice.
I know that the experience had done Spanish sessions before, but this year what we're doing is we're actually having 3 days of all Spanish tracks. So it's going to cover marketing, business management, safety, cleaning, restoration, estimating. There'll be a town hall on the Spanish track on the last day where everybody can digest what they've learned for the week and come in and talk. So there's some major changes that we have made to make sure that we're trying to include everybody in the industry as much as possible. And that hints, women in restoration. I also think that in the future, maybe not this year, but in the future, there will be opportunity to do um, a panel style of in the business 5 years or less, and it's a conversation. There's so much to tackle in what we do every day.
Yep.
I'm very happy and passionate about what we do every single day. I haven't ever really truly been in the field, but I've done a lot of training in 2025 with those
Usually
who
Chris's class, that was almost like that's about right on par with being in the field.
it
He
was
puts his
really
guys through the
cool.
ringer.
Yeah, he definitely, I mean, I think I talked about this on the last time, I was the PM.
Yep.
Thankfully, I have OCD. I mean, if you have OCD, you make a great PM, maybe to myself. I think my team really loved it too, but, I think that you're put through the ringer. I mean, I've done Jeff Jones's Microbial Warrior. I am a microbial warrior, and it was 5 days of intensive hands-on, scenario-based training. The same thing with Chris Carter and their group, the
Yeah.
global catastrophe training. I think that really what I have learned is that you can cover so many topics in so many different ways because everybody does things a little differently.
Yeah.
Um, it's no secret the topics are going to be around restoration and cleaning and safety and business management and marketing. But I think when we release the agenda, which is coming soon, we haven't finished it all the way. I think people will be very pleased to see where this event is going and why it's going that way. Um, it's the one time of the year that we bring people in from outside of our industry as well. I know all of our other events do a really great job. But we bring people from, the industrial hygiene space, from, there's might be some doctors speaking, there's some really cool stuff that we're able to implement. The one thing I will definitely say that has changed this event so much is the feedback that we've received. Um, I think people are open and honest, and that's one thing that really helps our industry advance, not just the experience or R&R, but I mean the industry as a whole. We have to rely on the industry to tell us what is missing or what needs to be discussed. So, I say all that to say, Mike, I'm pretty sure you probably know that you're going to speak. And I think your
Looking
topic is
forward
really
to it.
right? Your topic is really great, and I talked about this last time. TNM, when I did that for the first time, when I build time and materials for the first time at the global catastrophe event, literally in my mind, I was like, "Why aren't we doing this in everything that we do?" That was my biggest question.
Yeah, and it's crazy, to kind of dissect into that direction for a minute. But every other contractor in the world bills in time and material. It's only this insurance crazy world that we live in that deals with this square footage and linear footage kind of stuff on a regular basis. And relies on third party softwares to set pricing or to manage that pricing. And I know that they have disclaimers. There's nothing against them. I've used that software and a couple of those softwares for years. And I know that they have in there that, they're not setting goal, that they're just a reference and yada, yada, yada. But the fact is that time and material, I think one of the reasons that it has taken a while to kind of get to where it's about to move into is because there's no validation there, and so the validation actually came from, using these other programs. This is the average cost it should take to paint a wall, that's this many square feet, and I get that. But now that technology has moved forward and softwares, such as ours that clocks people in and geolocates them, time and date stamps, everything that they do on a project, from the photos that they take of their equipment to, the time they step on a job, or if they're doing port to port for their travel, the whole 9 yards. There's nothing to argue with. And so a lot of contractors have been jumping on board and loving it because it will stand up against the hardest scrutiny that there is. But now insurance companies are liking it too, because those other programs sometimes are abused as well, just like TNM has been in the past in some programs. And, just because something qualifies for 5D hues and 35 air movers, doesn't mean that the contractor always put that on the job, you know,
Yeah.
and so they're charging for it, and they may have only put 4 and 20, and, so that's why photographs and documentation has gotten stronger and stronger every year throughout the industry. And now that's kind of the way we have developed this software, is to, kind of capture and solve a lot of those problems. So now we actually are talking to multiple insurance companies that are going to, especially on larger type losses, like $100,000 or more, and even in residential. Primarily, T&M has been used, in our space, the restoration side of the world, in commercial losses, even small commercial losses that are, $1,000, But now we've got residential insurance companies and underwriters that are like, okay, I'm down for this. My contractors that I trust are wanting me to go this way anyhow. And so I really see a big move this next year towards T&M on multiple fronts. So I'm excited, definitely excited.
Yeah, I would definitely say from my perspective, again, just being able to use your guys' software, and the ease of use. The one thing that I really appreciated and, you know, I again, I don't have any experience, I cannot stress that enough. I've never had to submit anything to insurance, as far as estimating or scoping or anything like that, but one thing that I really appreciated about your guys' software is you calculate everything, and it shows you where you are in your budget.
Yeah.
The one thing that I think will really save the industry and the relationship with the carrier and the customer is that as long as you stay within that budget and means of what you're doing, there shouldn't be any questions, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest things that to me was so important because, we were tested on this. That was part of our final day, and we came within budget, but it was very stressful to see the numbers change, right? And I was like,
Mm.
"Wait, something's not right," and we went back, I worked with the team, and, we were able to come within budget. But you can really see where your money goes and how it's going to be spent, but it also allows you as a professional to really give yourself some grace.
Yep.
Because right now, if we're going by line item, is that really true? I know there's some things with some pricing and things like that. Obviously, I'm not the person to talk about it. But when you have an overall budget and you're able to move things around efficiently and effectively to the job itself, it saves everybody a headache, an argument, misunderstanding, and we're able to move in the process a little bit faster. That is my take, again, as somebody who's only had the opportunity to train on this, but hearing frustrations on a regular basis, to me, time and materials is going to be one of the biggest things that helps solve a lot of the pain points that we have. Um,
Especially from
my
the
biggest
contractor
question,
point of view.
yeah, exactly. And I was going to say, my biggest question is, you know, to the industry and the powers that be, I guess, is I know that the scale is different when we're in residential and commercial. But if we can try and streamline things regardless of the project we're working on, we will save ourselves a lot of grief. And I
Yep.
believe that truly because we are handling things different on the residential side of things opposed to commercial. So then when we do get to the adjuster, how could you blame somebody for asking questions? How could you blame somebody for saying, "Oh, you don't need that?" Because it's confusing to somebody who's not in the industry, and I think that's one thing that I really recognize is we don't understand what they do on a regular basis, and they have no idea what we're doing either. And
Yeah,
so
it's exactly right.
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's exactly right. It's one of those things where, you know, the the contractor is really looking to basically get paid what's fair, and yeah, there are bad players on both sides, but the fact is that most contractors just want to be able to make a profit, That's why we're all in business, and the problem is that, the other way, without saying, any software's name, but basically, and it's also tied to program guidelines, especially if you're getting into a TPA or something like that. But even now, guys that aren't in TPA, they're being measured by those type of rules. And so they'll be like, okay, well, that job should have only taken you, an hour and a half to go over there and monitor and, adjust all the equipment based on the size that it is. But you never know. Every job is different, and it's like, my guys aren't milking the clock, but if my guy spent 3 hours there, so by being honest about what is going on, it allows you to provide a better product because now your guys aren't rushing. It's like, "Oh my god, we only got 30 minutes on site, to do this monitoring or we're not profitable." And, so they'll rush a job. And so then the homeowner or the business owner is not getting a quality, product at the end.
Product, yeah.
And so that's the reason, the time and material is really, kind of going there. But like I said, the validation is really what's helping to kind of move it forward this year, I think.
And I would just say to your point, like, I know that we use other softwares that are based on what we're doing. I think that they still fit into there. I think TNM also will integrate in a perfect world, we'll get there, but integrate with those other softwares that are used because you still have to have an explanation of what you've done, but
Yep.
just stay within your budget, I think is the other thing because we know it, and this is in banking and auto and everything, there's differences in everything that we do in all walks of our life. And so this is no different. I think it's just the adaptability and making sure that our technology talks to each other. That was another topic at Verisk that CJ Bailey and Nick Hindle talked about from PureClean. It's just, things need to talk to each other so that our stuff doesn't break down and we're not having to enter data in all these different places and trying to remember terminology that's different within the softwares. So I think that really, in a perfect world when we will get there. I don't know how long it'll take. We will be able to use time and material billing that integrates with Verisk and Cotality, right?
Oh
Let's
yeah.
be real. None of this stuff is going to go away. I just think it takes the powers that be to all work together. And truly, the theme that I've received and everything the last couple of years is let's all work together. It's going to take time, but I think we're on the right path. And to your point, it is a really good way, truly, just personally using it myself and just being able to integrate with one another. It will make everything so much easier for everybody, not just the contractor, not just our insurance carriers and our adjusters and all of that. It makes everything easier for everybody, even the customer. If a customer sees something, they'll be able to have it explained to them by all parties involved, which I think is really, really important. I think we talk about this all the time. KISS, I say keep it simple, silly, because some of the stuff we do is very silly and we need to be very simple. So I think at the end of the day, we are making great strides, and I can't wait to see what 2026 brings. I'm so fortunate to have seen this industry change over 10 years. I think that we're changing a little bit faster than we have. We're still a little slow, but I think that 2026 is going to be one of those years that really shows us if we all just put our heads together and we all just work for the common good of the consumer, right? At the end of the day, we will make great strides. I'll get off my soapbox now, but really, truly, I just think that we're going to make a really big leap in 2026, and I'm really excited to see it happen.
I agree. I think this year is going to bring a lot of things, and you know, a lot of people have jumped into AI and adopted AI, over the last few years, and same thing with integrations. But now there's actually being a drawback to some, extent, and so, what one of the big things now, to even be approved to integrate with most people is to have your SOC 2 security, rating, which we finished, I guess, about 3 4 months ago, and now what we're hearing and actually talking to the guys at PureClean at one point, is kind of who brought it to our attention, and then another franchise group has brought it to our attention, is that there are a lot of lawsuits out there now flying because too much data was shared.
Mhm.
Personal information data, policy numbers, names, address, phone numbers of these people that are now, because of AI integration that some people have done on some simpler platforms, for example, this data is in the universe now,
Mhm.
for you to see. And that's really, really, really causing some major issues. And so now there's a little bit of a pullback, flex from that we're hearing about that's happening, and it really comes down to protecting personal information, which has been a huge deal. But everybody dove headfirst into the AI and then the integrating of multiple programs without thinking about the security levels of those. And so now the security is kind of coming back to the forefront, and a lot of companies are requiring this massive level of security, in order to basically integrate it all because of the amount of data information, especially if you're integrating with anything that is sourcing its information from insurance companies in any way, form, or fashion. And so it's really becoming an issue. Like I can remember even getting in trouble from clients because we had photos of their house without their permission back in the day. And, now it's getting to where this world that we live in is data is everywhere, and some of it is great and beneficial. One of the things I know that Cotality has been working on, I've been talking to them for a couple of years, is they're one of the biggest providers of information for like Zillow, for example.
Mhm.
And so on one of their other branches of the company. Well, wouldn't it be great if a technician could pull that up, when he gets an assignment, through Dash or anything like that, and actually see, oh, well, they got tile in this room and hardwood floors and carpet and this and that. And even though the pictures may not be as current because the homeowner may have remodeled since the last time, but you get that information. You got the square footage, you got the year the house was built. And so they're actually looking to try to integrate some of that information security wise too. And so once that type of stuff starts happening, it makes the job in the field so much easier. And it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome.
And I would definitely say, just to your point on that, that was a topic of conversation at Veris too, right? When we get a phone call, we don't get all of the details. And so that makes it a little bit harder for us.
Yeah.
Of course, now there's a responding time, but now if you have some idea of what you're walking into, obviously it'll vary based on disaster. But to your point, square footage, the materials in the home, how old the home is, I think those are the key details that really make a difference at the beginning of a process or a project. And
Absolutely.
so, those are just like the little strides. They're actually big strides in the grand scheme of things, but I think those are the things that are going to help us. And to your point, SOC 2 compliance, it is a huge thing, not just in our space, but every single space. And AI, again, always a topic of conversation. I think we're going to hear it probably for the next year or so. But AI is a tool. It is not a crutch, it is not something that you put everything into, but I think that some people are learning the hard way
Yeah.
because you have to read their privacy details. You have to make sure, are you on the paid version or are you on the free version? If you're on the free
Yeah.
version, chances are nothing is protected, let's be real.
Yeah.
And so there's some things there that we have to do our due diligence on.
Yeah, because a
Um,
lot of people think that anything AI says is golden, and AI hallucinates all the time based on other information that people have put into AI, and so it will make stuff up to make you happy too. I mean, they have done studies on this stuff, and people don't they find out the hard way once they actually put something out there, and people like, no, that's not correct.
Well, and I think that's to your point. I had an interesting conversation about a week or so ago, and it was from a contributor who writes for us on a regular basis. And he asked the question, do you think that we will be obsolete, that AI will write articles? So there's a couple of things that I believe really will influence that not ever happening
Yeah,
personally. We will never be obsolete. We move faster than AI. We learn faster than AI. We implement things faster than AI. And the reason why it's really important to understand that is we're in a very hands on human industry. And so to your point, AI not only hallucinates, if we put garbage in, garbage is going to come out, just like your CRM, just like any other thing that you use. And so I think where we're going to really capitalize on AI is, fact checking the facts that we do have, right? Hey, can you verify that this fact is true? Please provide me 4 reliable resources that validate this, right? You
yeah,
have to tell it exactly what you need it to do. We all use AI on a day-to-day basis. If we say we don't, I mean, maybe you don't like AI, but a majority of us are using it for several reasons.
yeah,
1, it makes us more efficient. 2, it's another set of eyes for you in the event that you needed to have something verified or checked. 3, using it the right way is really important. You wanna make sure that there's some serious privacy stuff in place for you and
yeah,
your business, but also for personal things, right? I think I've heard this talked about, like, you don't wanna upload a contract with personal information into it and all of those things. Like, there's some things you just don't wanna do.
yeah,
But for us as an industry who serves customers, we have to have a human aspect. That's writing, communicating in all forms, which is writing, but showing up in person. A robot is not going to come in and assess what we do. They're not going to, perform flood cuts and, gosh, don't even get into the type of testing you need to do. How are they going to identify if asbestos is potentially present? There's so many things that we do every single day. AI should not scare anybody in this industry, if I'm being completely honest. There's
no,
a
it's good.
humanized aspect that we have, right?
Yeah, and one of my favorites, David Grove from Built actually turned me on to a few months ago is Google's Notebook LM. The cool thing about it is it's an AI platform, large language model, but it does not pull in anything that you did not direct it to. So you can upload your own documents, your own information, and then you can point it to specific websites. So, like I've built one, for example, a notebook based on OSHA safety standards, and I basically pointed it to some of my documentation, some legal stuff that I know has been done, and then I point it directly and only to the government's OSHA website, to pull any of the standards from. And That's it. So there's no hallucinations, there's no making it up, and your information does not leave that notebook. It is like your own thing. And so that's a pretty powerful one that I really like. And what's cool about it is once you start bringing it in there, it will do process mapping for you. It will do educational seminars. It'll even do a fake podcast. So you can post it for people to learn off of. It's pretty amazing. And it's it is the best tool, I think, for, like, teaching your staff, so, like, if you got your own processes, procedures, and things like that, you could dump it all into there, and then you can ask it, "Hey, I wanna train a technician on how to do this," and it will spit it all out, and it's pretty spot on, and it didn't make anything up or bring anything from outside sources. That's what's great about it.
I was literally gonna say you're the second person that has brought up Google LM in less than 24 hours that I've had conversations with, and it is a great tool. I will definitely say to your point on podcasting, uh, what you can do based on what you've said is you can pull all the stuff you want to learn about or need to have at your fingertips, and we all know people learn differently. If you wanna read it, great, but if you'd rather listen to it, it has the functionality to
Yep.
make it something that is memorable for you. You can have 2 people talking to each other. It's really, really cool. Um, I did some looking into it last night because I was like, "This is really cool to kind of see and leverage it specifically for what you're looking for."
Yep.
Everybody learns differently. Everybody has different questions. Everybody, has something that they excel at opposed to the person sitting next to them. And so really, to your point, like you said, documentation and legality, that's something that you're looking at, but, someone else in the company may be like, "How do I figure out this process or make this process more tight? Can you show me processes throughout, whatever that have worked well?" So I think that there's opportunities to leverage great like platforms just like Google LM and even your Chat GPT and Copilot, right? The secret sauce is leveraging it properly. Do
Yeah.
not let it have its mind of its own because that's where we get in trouble. And so, I think we're definitely learning. We're always late to the game with technology. Let's be real. We are
Our
a
industry
very
is bad,
hands-on
bad,
industry. Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. We're really bad. And I mean, in some ways, it's not a bad thing because we're able to see people make mistakes with those things and we can learn from them, right? Other industries. But at the same time, we have to remember what generation is coming into our workforce, and they will not thrive in this industry if we do not move fast enough. And so
Speaking of handwritten documents and manual ways of doing things, they're not wired for that. That's not the way they were raised and grew up. And I know the flip side is that you got guys with multiple years of experience that are resistant to change themselves, and I, I'm an evolve or die kind of guy, and so it's like I got to keep up. I mean, I'm 58 years old. I think I don't keep up with my age too much, and but it's like if I don't keep up on current trends and current technology, I'm gonna be left in the dust. And so I work hard at it. The older you get, because I was raised before word processors. Well, we had typing classes, not computer classes. Until I got like my senior year of high school. That was the first time we had like keyboarding and weird things like that kind of start popping its head into schools. And so I've had to, fortunately, I've always kind of considered myself a little bit of a tech nerd. So it's always been something that's easier for me than it is a lot of people. But I think it's important that people are not resistant to change and that employers embrace new technology as they're trying to bring in a younger workforce, that's going to be the new energy in the future of our industry.
no, 100%. I think the right word that you used was embrace. It's not going away. So
Yep.
find a way to embrace it and lean into it a little bit. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to learn, which not really not mistakes. We're going to learn some lessons along the way because we will correct ourselves, right? A mistake is only a mistake if you don't learn from it and you keep repeating it. Truly, we will learn some lessons along the way and we will start to implement things properly. I think the scary thing is making a hiccup along the way, right? No one wants to have an imperfection, but we're human. We have to learn from that, and just embrace it. Embrace the good and the bad, and leverage it the way that works for you. Not everything is going to work the same for every single person in our space, right? You're going to leverage technology different than I do. um you know the the franchises, the independents, I mean marketing, business management, we're all going to lean into technology, the same technology, but just leverage it different, and that's okay. We don't have to be all on the same wavelength and the same platforms. We just need to learn how to use it to our advantage.
Yep. Well, all right. As we wrap up, give the dates for the experience again and the website where they can go to register to attend or display
Yes, so
for any vendors that may be on.
yes, you can definitely see the vendors that are there. You will be able to see the agenda here in the coming weeks. The dates are September 9th through 11th. We will be at the Paris Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, and you can register at rnrmagonline.com on the drop down the experience, and you can save $50 if you register as soon as possible. So, one quick thing that I wanted to add that I didn't say earlier that we
Yeah.
have never offered before, if you have never attended the experience or you only go to the expo because you don't, want to go to all of the education, this year we are offering, even if you get an expo pass, that you can attend all 3 keynotes, and then
Yeah.
maybe you might change your mind and say, "Hey, I think I need to get a full conference pass." So, we want you to gain something there regardless. So, you're hearing it here first. We haven't officially put it anywhere, but, thanks, Mike, for
Yeah.
today, and we hope to see you soon.
All right. Thank you, Kayla. And I'll see you Monday.
See you Monday.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
This episode is brought to you by Helix Co., the most advanced time and material ecosystem for ROMs, time and material billing, job sharing, with digital records and much more. Check us out at www.helixco.io.